Hello. Let me give you a little peek into the life of a traveler, adventurer, legacy forger. Whatever one wants to call it, it has many labels, and I believe that once people see what it actually is, they will find their own label because it's more of a philosophy. It's more of a lifestyle, to be honest. And so I've been dealing with a lot of tough situations trying to communicate how I feel lately. There was actually a few days where I couldn't communicate at all. I want to call that the day I became a mutist because it was extremely fascinating to me, given what I do, and it has prompted me to really think about the things that happened and how and why and what they lead to, and also what the process is like throughout that. Because I need to bring up a lot of definitions in this in order to, for myself, make it more understandable. But I have been known to go on adventures. And an adventure is very much a personal thing, I think. When people hear that word, they will think of what they associate with that word. So I think it's really important for me to just define what I see as an adventure and how that could help a lot of, you know, aspiring adventurers as they go out. What do you need to look for? What do you need to do? What do you need to think about? Always bring a towel. Just kidding. I'm not gonna go there. An adventure can be anything. It's for me, it's a spontaneous miracle that happens, and you have to adapt to the situation. And you're on a mission. You are on a. You have a goal. There is a specificity and a intentionality to what you're doing, even though it's very much building the plane in the air. Because of that, I have my bag. I have a bag that I call my epic bag. I have it back here. It has all the things I need. It's like a remote office. So I have my laptop, I have a notebook, I have a few other books just for reading. I have Marcus Aurelius Meditations and Jose Silva's Ultra Meditation or Ultra Mind, which is actually on loan from a shaman who lives in Oslo, who makes staffs with runic inscriptions. I can go on in depth of the people I've met and the things I have done, but it's not going to make a lot of sense if I don't say why I met them. Why did the path cross? So in this open and loud thought session, I will try to just go through a story that takes you through the last week and will function as a micro of a macro. So there's going to be a little journey, one adventure that holds the same elements as the big adventure. And the big adventure is your life. It's literally your life. It's when you see that you can do things that you didn't think you could do. Like it's when people say, "Yes, I want to go to Turkey. I look forward to be able to save up to that trip when I'm allowed to take some time off from my job and pay for the ticket and save and be able to kind of structure this vacation so that I can be present in another country, normally on a hotel or at a hotel, and doing things that you kind of have to do because you are on a timeline. And that's kind of hard. If you have to put a timeline and specific things that you must do, an agenda to relaxation or a adventure, it makes it stressful when you're not able to follow up with the plan. Make sense? Not for everyone, of course. I know that there are people who would much rather prefer to have a plan of to-dos on what to do. Like when you come to a new country, it's more beneficial for you if you have a list of what you do and how you do it, what you're going to do, where to go, who to meet, who to talk to, what to buy, what to do when you buy it, what you're going to know about the whole transaction, the currency exchange, all the things that comes into the one main mission. Many people might not really, depending on the situation, of course. you can have a to-do list where every single item on that list is like a quest in itself, and it just, you don't realize how much it actually requires before you actually do it. So for instance, if you were to come to Norway and you are on this time limit and you have X amount of dollars, you have X amount of time, you have X amount of freedom in terms of traveling around, and you want to see the Trollcock, which is a rock in Norway. You want to see the Pulpit Rock, for instance, Three Swords, and you want to do a tour with the Oseberg ship, and you want to travel through the Jotunheim, and you have a week. It doesn't look like it when you see it from the map. But if you were to travel from Oslo to Stavanger, and then around in Stavanger, and then to the interior, and then down to Tønsberg, and then up to Jotunheim, there would be no way. No way. It takes like 8 hours to just traverse a little piece of the southern tip. So sometimes we have plans, but it's hard to really make them happen, even though they're just showing up at a place, right? This has relevance because when I have been doing these adventures that I do, let's say the last adventure now was, I had to get to a ancient forest on the east side of Norway, on the border of Sweden, to a witch's cabin, to have a very naturally aligned healing session using plant medicine in a therapeutic way that has been honored through ages, but that is frowned upon by modern psychic health workers or the system, or how people are being educated in terms of how psychology works and neurology. And it was a unique thing. So the goal is to get to this cabin, to have this person who is now traveling with me to get to the cabin. And I'm sitting here, and normally I go into the app. I have an app. It's called Entur, and it's just a collection of all the things in Norway when it comes to public transport. So I can say I'm going from this place, I'm going to that place. Along that, there's gonna be like, you're gonna take the bus. You're gonna first walk to this bus stop, and then you're gonna take this bus to this place where there's gonna be a boat or a train that's gonna take you to the next, and blah blah blah. So you have a full-on itinerary of how to travel to the place. That usually is simpler. You know, if you have a desire to check out something on the way, you can jump off the bus and you can just walk around or whatever, right? If you have a car, great, but there are things that can come with a car. I'm going to get to that. But it's a simple thing that removes a lot of mental capacity, mental energy, because when I do an adventure, I broadcast it. So I have a mission. Those missions are often, if not always, tied to something that is going to provide a lot of insight, a lot of experience, a lot of stories, a lot of knowledge on a certain topic, and mostly within psychedelic healing and psychedelic research and the whole transformation of a human, right? So there's a lot of things that comes out from a normal conversation with someone who had a story to tell, from visiting a place and just learning about the place, from paying honor to a place and going up there and just do a ceremony of sorts and just reminisce and catch up. There are so many things that just brings in new pieces of information and things that I can use when I'm telling a story. So when I broadcast, we created a system on the Legacy Forge in the Discord server where I have one place that I can just post photos or go live or share whatever, and everyone can see what's happening, right? So then everyone is kind of with me on the adventure, and there is a possibility that people who see that the adventure will go past their house, so we have different people around the world, if they see that the adventure is going to go past their house, they can then raise their hand and say, we have a pit stop. And then maybe there is a bonfire and a talk on that stop because it aligns with the full context of why we're traveling. So maybe me and the travel partner, we're going up there for a specific ceremony for that specific ceremony. Maybe we need props. Maybe we need different things and elements to take to the place, to the location. Maybe there's like a courier service. Maybe the facilitator at the destination needs something that is unavailable and it's going to take days to get it shipped through the horrible Norwegian postal system. So we just bring that up on the route. And it's just a beautiful thing. It always escalates into something that is mind-boggling and expansive, and something that adds to the next adventure. This time it didn't go as planned, and this is why I have to talk about this, because I saw a consequence that I have not experienced before, and it made me stop and really try to see what this was. The adventure started as any other adventure, but it was also during a very emotionally intense situation. So a lot of things had happened that created insanely strong emotional reactions. Like when you feel like you're boiling, when you feel like you're sweating, when you just burst out in tears, whatever happens, if you're in such a, I would say, almost traumatic situation, it's hard to really think clearly. And this was at the end of a quite long period of many of these in different natures and different aspects. Different parts of my life had different challenges and situations ongoing that was extremely taxing to go through. And when I came to Friday, I had made a video where I talked about something that's going to happen. And I can see it, that I'm actually reacting. I'm going through, because I have a habit of just putting on the camera whenever I have something I want to get out there for my own good, just to have it documented and out of my head. And when I did that, I was in the middle of the realization. We can go into many different forms of meta communication or manifestation or premonition or whatever we want to call this. But I had a feeling, and I stopped the camera, or I start the camera, and I share, what is this? What's happening? And I'm talking about what I think is happening, and I talk about how I'm experiencing it. And then Saturday comes, and it's like the situation that I felt happened. And it was like, it just, no way of seeing this gonna happen, because you can't really, it's based on how other people in their own reality and autonomy and their own person, how they see the world and how to kind of cooperate while trying to communicate how we see the different realities in terms of how we see the world. It's like explaining a feeling, you know? If you were to ask 100 people, explain love as a feeling, you would have a very varied list of answers, because a feeling is very hard to explain. But we deal in energies, right? So we have this very interesting way of seeing and decoding what's going on. And as I had the reaction on Friday, seemingly out of nowhere, and then the situation kind of happened on Saturday, it was extremely dense in like terms of energetic distress, emotionally distress, whatever you want to call it. It was extremely heavy. But then other people started to just randomly, coincidentally appear, and they had different things happening in their life. And given what I'm doing every single day, I always see, when I see a branch, when I see someone who has something, either in terms of a skill or a benefit or a resource or a challenge or whatever it is, I see another person's life or situation as something that I can help with what we have. But knowing that I cannot tell people what we have because it's too big to explain. Up until now, like this weekend, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to not get ahead of myself. Instead of me trying to explain, I have just resourced to, or I have just gone to experience what I'm trying to explain with them, so that they have something of a memory they can rely on. Instead of trying to learn what the fuck it is, they can then experience it, and then they can see what it is, and then they can make up their own mind. And if they have questions, we can kind of clarify that as we go. And it works very beautifully. But sometimes, as I said, it is very good to have some sort of a golden thread, some sort of a red line that you can follow, because certain elements, if they fall out of the machinery, will fuck up the entire machinery. Sorry, I felt just how bad it got fucked up. So it could be, I have no idea. If it wasn't contained, it could have been catastrophic. And it's just so interesting to behold now, because the events that led up to it, it's so interesting. And I'm going to try my best to get through that explanation, to see how I can see it now and put words to it. But we were on our way, and we stopped in the first place in Kristiansand in Norway. There we met someone who had their own journey, and they were doing their very best to help other people, to the point where they were crumbling under the pressure, because some people just have that. Some people have that drive that just makes them do the impossible for other people. And there are so many people today that is struggling severely from a system that is malfunctioning. The system is not working at all. We have people who have been put into situations where they become trapped, completely trapped, because they have no other options. So they might end up on the street. They might end up as an abuser, as not even an abuser, because this is the thing. What do we do in terms of plant medicine, and I will say plant medicine, and different other things that every human has access to? Sometimes we choose something that not really gives us more than another problem in the long run. So let's say that you have too few hours during a day, and then you see that you can keep going. You can keep energized, awake, and do things that kind of goes beyond your bodily limits. And then you get into the habit of that. And now you kind of know that way of going through life better than you did without that boost. Sometimes people get addicted to it, and it's harder to stop with it. There are so many things. There are so many ways to use plant medicine and use medicine in general, that it is impossible to say to a person what they should do, because, as I said, everyone has their journey. And this person in Kristiansand had experience from both sides of the spectrum, had education, was kind of a very insightful person in a very specific demographic, like a specific experience and topic. Not many people can really come in and say that they have the experience to have gone through it, and also the experience that comes from the education, or the knowledge from the education, and being able to transfer this knowledge or help to a person who's currently in the situation. There's a lot of things that goes into this. It's like when a person is trying to teach you something, but they learned what they teach you from a book, and they don't really have the experience to back up what they're saying. So maybe they just say, because it says in the book, that's what it says. Maybe they skip a few steps. Maybe anything could happen, right? The message that is being delivered is not pure. It's not authentic. It's not something that is actually valuable. But if people, sometimes it is. Sometimes don't do the whole binary thing of taking everything under one word, or black and white. There are gradients, of course, but in this case, this person has been working so hard for everyone else, walking around with nothing and giving more than they can give. And when they do that over a long time, all of a sudden your body is going to catch up. Even though you feel like you can do anything, like you can just carry on, it's catching up, and the exhaustion is on a level that you can't really explain, because there is one thing to say that you are stuck in Norway, or to say that you are, and this goes for not just Norway, but anything. Like if you're in a situation where you are stuck, and you are stuck because of the benefits that the system that created the situation is offering you. I'm going to take a very specific example here. if you're being paid by the government a monthly sum so that you don't have to worry about your house, you might struggle a little bit with food, but you don't really need to worry about how to live next month. That security can act as a invisible prison. And when you don't have that, when you don't have anything, you are forced to do things that not many other people can, and you fall out of the security that they have when they get paid by the system. The security of knowing that you can take a day off. Because if you stop, you die, or other people die. And I'm not sure if people really get the severity of what I'm trying to say, because there is a difference with thinking that the house is on fire, I need to do something, and being in a house that is on fire, knowing that if you don't do anything, you're dead. Yeah, because I've been trying to explain this a long time. A long time. There is something to be said about the drive and the drive, and the discipline and the dedication and the resourcefulness and the resilience and just everything that comes in to be a necessity. Like, you need to have those qualities if you're doing an adventure that is basically laid out with no plan. You know, there needs to be a mindset, a warrior mindset. So to bring it back, the person we met in Kristiansand, the first stop, was a warrior, a flat-on warrior. And there was a whole story that comes in around that is going to be more structured on that story. As you see, things happen during 12 hours. It could fill a book. But we are still on the adventure. And after Kristiansand, we're supposed to start heading towards the woods, to the ancient forest. We had a few stops along the way, but when we came to the next stop, we were told a critical piece of information that had catastrophic consequences. We had to turn around. So imagine if you are on your way to someplace to pick up the thing that you need for the next thing you're going to do in life. So it's like a huge thing that is currently happening. And on the way, you are being not only stopped, but it costs you more to get up to that point than the result would take care of. Kind of. It's hard to explain because I do a lot of things at the same time, but I have been doing my very best to travel around the world. I can't really see the world. I've been in Finland, on these adventures, but around the Norwegian mountains and stuff. Meeting people. I meet people who are doing the same thing, who are creating something, and who are tired and sick of how things are, who also have the resources and the drive and the goals and everything they need to actually do what they say they want to do. It's not like they just say, I hope that I'm going to win the lottery one day. They do what they say they want. And then if people don't really follow that, they don't care. They just continue. And they will do what they need to do because they need to do it. Now, I've been collecting people. I've been going around and I've been managing this whole network and meeting people and connecting and introducing and just seeing what happens if we have this collective goal, because everyone I talk to have that same goal. And then put them in a group with other people who can not only leverage their whole pressure, but they can also give them resources that they don't really have because they are alone in all that stuff and trying to create everything alone. Or they lack the skill. Sometimes it's nothing more than a skill. Maybe you need to know how to communicate a certain thing, and all of a sudden your entire life changed. Sometimes it's so paradoxically simple, it kind of bugs me. Back to the adventure. I have, by this point, activated a lot of people to basically greet us as we come to that location during the adventure, and then we get this message, and I have to turn around. And it sparked a lot of unnecessary shit, because some people are locked in a very strict and limited reality where all that is possible all that is possible as they perceive it is what they know, and what they see is possible from what they see. They don't see the things that are currently happening because they don't know the people they haven't been introduced yet to. They don't know what they don't know. They don't know what has been going on for 10 years behind, my journey, what this is going to mean for everything, and so on. So they don't really see the whole importance of these adventures. And I continue to try to explain, but then I'm left with I have to give up because it's kind of wearing down my own sanity when I have to always try to explain who I am, what I do, why I do it, all that stuff, if they don't have any of that drive themselves. If I ask you, who are you? And you say, well, I'm Bob, I'm 34, and I'm a fisherman, then you need to wake up because that's not you. That's your age, your assigned label, and what you do every day. And some people do it because they're told to do it. So it's like, it's not you. And I try to explain why I'm doing what I'm doing, who I am, what I try to achieve. And some people resonate, and some people are like, that's crazy, and that's impossible, so I'm not going to even bother. And they continue their life, and they do the thing. But sometimes it feels like people don't realize that there is a journey, there is a piece of work and an effort that is required in these adventures that leads to, let's say, nirvana, let's say Valhalla, let's say that it leads to paradise, it leads to a state where you can actually relax, where you can actually just see clearly where you want to go, because you get to learn who you are. And when you do that, you see what you need to do. You feel what you need to do. And especially if you're getting inspired by a whole bunch of other people who are already doing something that is worth it. But some people take that a little bit too much for granted, and it ended up in a lot of people pleasing, a lot of doing things rushed because other people didn't know the context, and a lot of, unnecessary stressors on something that should be very easy to navigate and go through and actually enjoy while doing it. It shouldn't be a chore. An adventure should never be a chore, something you have to do. It should be something that you are fucking inspired to do, and you want to do it, and you want to do it in any way possible, and nothing can stop you. Like I said, okay, fine, we have to turn back the car, but is there a chance here that we can put the car here, and then we can travel from here and activate other people along the coastline and make sure that we still get there, but we pick up the car on the way back, more or less. But no, time. People don't have time to go into something where they don't know how long it's going to take. Again, going back to the freedom. My life is very much what I make it. And to bring it back to the point of what my life is and where I'm at right now, after this weekend, I had gone through so many sessions where I held space. I was at 50 hours ish when I hit the bed, awake, and just all the things that happened during the weekend basically happened during one freaking shift from I got up to I got to bed. And when I come home, I'm just energetically depleted. There was nothing left. And I realized this the day after because I ended the night after the adventure. I ended the night in the core with some of my team and went through a little bit of what had happened. But then I went completely mute. I couldn't speak to anyone. I didn't have the energy or anything to respond to any DMs. Any people who called me, I just let it ring or hung up. Any people who tried to reach in any way when I was present in conversations on the core, I was without a camera and without a microphone, and I was trying to just communicate in chat because I was completely gone. I was completely wasted. The energy had gone to such a level, like I felt like I had just overloaded the system. And it was an extremely interesting thing to behold because I've seen this happen to many people in many specific situations where it becomes so much that they just go mute. And when that happens, be mute. I feel like the last few days have taught me that if it happens, you just take care of yourself and just go on sick leave. I can't go on sick leave, so I was told by Vibestar And Vibestar told the community that I have now put Tor on sick leave. He will not be able to do this and he will not be able to do that. And this has gone long enough. We are now restructuring everything. We're removing and we are tearing down and we are rebuilding. Because so far, because people don't understand often, they get the result more or less every time, but they don't see the full picture of it, which means that my load of the work becomes more and I have to kind of add even more into something to provide what a system could provide. So we've created a system while we're doing this and seeing what we have to do. But it was basically this point where it's done. I'm done. I've been the only one who's paid for the bills and everything in the Legacy Forge for many, many moons. And since I started this whole journey, I've been alone. So creating the team and to see what we can do as a team, it has been a journey. It has been a insanely educational journey. And here we are now where people are burning for the same fire and changes are happening faster than I can really adapt to it. And so much have happened that not many people know about yet because time and place. And it's just so interesting to see that everything that is happening right now is almost like a result of the thoughts that we had earlier, which is all also recorded. Everything is recorded, which is blowing my mind. But now that everyone in the whole thing know what this is and start to see a little bit more of what it is, Exalted Hammer, for instance, yesterday I mentioned Exalted Hammer, and the dude that heard it was physically lifted up just by the name Exalted Hammer. I will never forget that. And then, that was almost one of the few memories he had from a very painful era. So that told us something. He's also energetically lobotomized from the system, so we aim to fix that as well. But to see that now we have something that is an adventure is literally that. If I was to explain to people what I do now, I would literally say that we set up an experience that is going to feel like a fucking bona fide magical adventure where you're going to do specific things. Some of those things is going to push you. Some of those things is going to challenge you. Some of those things are going to trigger you. But some of those and most of those things are going to fucking make you feel like you're unstoppable, limitless. And the energy, the specific energy is going to show you. Like you're going to experience something that you will have questions about, because this is what we really saw yesterday. I had a call with several of the people who were present 11/11/22. The energy is what most people took note of because they felt it, they were changed by it, they still feel it, they had something happen that was beyond words. And now that I have all these other experiences and professionals, educated people, certified and smart people in high places in the health system who's also been fucked by the system, and all of these different perspectives, I know what we have. And it's an adventure. My day is very much like I talk to people. I get up, I see what's going on, and I talk. And then sometimes I travel. And then sometimes I have a meeting with someone and we have a project where we can just change the world. Let's talk about how we can create those light pollution less light systems of yours, We try to create magic. It should be fun. Life should be fun. People should gamify it more. I think I have a lot more to say on this whole thing. But it is such a big story that it's going to need time. It's going to need some preparation and time and space where we can just sit down and not worry about anything. Because last night we had last final tweaks on the Great Reset. And the next day in the noon, in another country, a person of the team was struck, fucking punched so hard that he flew over. Like, we know this because we saw it on the camera. That's the thing. we saw a recording that shook us to the core, that made us prioritize things a little differently, which also became a blessing in disguise because now it's following that line. You know, things are happening in an extreme fashion, and it's just about seeing what can those things lead to. What is this a sign of? What is this? What does this mean? Why do you feel that now? Where could it go? You know. So right now, after this new adventure on top of the adventure, I have been a mute. I have been forced to get my voice back in a matter of days. And I've talked to people, activated people that is going to enable us for the next leg of this whole thing. Which, by the way, depending on when you see this, the website will be taken down during this because our website is a remote 4-level encrypted system that is beyond the reach of any system on a safe hard drive that can be nuked at any time on satellite internet, a USB drive, and a Raspberry Pi. That we have created things that is not. It's a website without being a website, and that requires anything other than just what you can create. So yeah, we have to move a few things now around the world. So that means that the website will probably go down. While that happens, though, we have the Discord. Go to the Discord. I'm going to actually, for those people who have a QR, you can scan that and you're going to get to the Discord. Maybe. We are currently doing some renovations in there as well. So everything that you need to know has probably been shared somewhere around all the things on Facebook, Discord, YouTube. Check the link below, maybe. Maybe there's something there. I don't know. We are now gathering the tribes. We have Angarboda on the way from the south, or the north. She's coming to the south. We have amazing Valkyries in the US. We have Keepers of Hidden Secrets. That does fantastic in keeping and holding and sharing space. We have so much now that it is impossible to say what it is other than a fucking adventure. Because it can't be defined by normal standards, and the only way to see what it is to experience it. And I really want most people, all people, as many people as possible, to just be in a level of freedom where you can have the thought capacity and the energetic capacity to create what you need to create in order to feel fulfilled in life. Because these days, I feel like everything is going very well in terms of pacifying and cutting people off from themselves. Everything seems to be very aligned towards that purpose. So we're trying to do something different. We're trying to help people see that they are themselves powerful enough and magical, and that we have people here waiting to meet you, dying to meet you. We have people who just, the only thing they want to do is to sit there and hear another person's story. And we know that there are many stories of pain and freaking tales of transformation. But we also know that those stories can be created into something way more than you might think. Your own personal saga, where you just go, create. It's a process, and it's an adventure. But if you are interested to join any of it, all the stories, all the things, is either in the Legacy Library or it's in the Discord. It's not far from where you are right now. It's normally just a click away. So I hope to see you on the inside, and hope you just having a fantastic, epic, magical day and adventure. Take care of freaking family, and I shall see you in the next one. By the way, if you subscribe to this channel, that would help a lot. Comment below what you think, and let's start a conversation. Share the message too, that would actually help the most, because we are being shadow banned all over the place.